Markets are jumping, and it's not the stock market that we care about, it's the bond market. And again, this is why it matters. The bond markets are what drive everything. CNBC, your Uncle Jim, your grandparents, parents, Jim Cramer, they're all worried about the stock market. Most people worry about the stock market. However, we here know that the driver is the credit and bond markets. If you understand this, if you understand the trifecta of oil, the DXY, the dollar relative strength, and the 10-year yield, you know what's actually happening in the world. And you can help other people become informed as to what's truly happening. So let's dive into this real quick. We won't go super crazy, but just let's see what's going on. And there's a lot going on. Bond yields are jumping again. So meaning bonds are selling off. That is a real driver of the entire global economy, and it means that everyone's costs for borrowing are going up. That means people around the world that have dollar-denominated loans are trying to find dollars that cost more and paying a variable loan that's basically moving upward. That's why you see these collapses at 4% yield. That we touched 4.5% a couple months ago, and we had Sri Lanka collapsing. All these people, screaming at central banks saying, "Hey, stop, 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 stop!" South Korea sending memos saying, "Hey, you got to stop this." I believe Japan might have too. So this is something where we've had this trend line downward over the last handful of months, 3 months or so, and things easing, global liquidity being pushed into the market, positive QE, even though they say, hey, we're restricting things. But at the end of the day, the way to truly get inflation down, it would be to take away the zero reserve requirements. Basically making the banks, because most of the currency is printed and the commercial banking system. And again, for deep dives, go to George Gamon's channel and watch the Jeff Snyders of the world and the Joseph Wangs and people like that. We here don't really care about what is actually happening in trying to grease every knob inside the Federal Reserve, because we are on a mission to take out the Federal Reserve and it will be gone. Bitcoin eradicates all that. You don't need to spend your time worrying and being a macro expert and sitting at conferences and standing on stage trying to opine about why I'm an expert about the Federal Reserve. Who cares? Federal Reserve is useless. It's the most evil entity on the earth. All the central banks are, and they are the ones creating this wealth gap and creating all the craziness we see in the world. That's it. Creating this inflation, making us think we need to have 2% of our assets stolen every single year from them. Right now, it's really 15% of our assets being stolen every year. That's true inflation, as we'll see here in a moment. So don't let anyone fool you. And there's a lot of good people that are trying to figure this system out, and it's futile. There's no reason. But again, alarm bells are going off. They're starting to go off. They've been rising here over the last week or two, and we've been watching this daily. We're going to continue watching this because this is what drives the economy. And things change when we get to 4% yields and above. Because again, at the end of the day, the U.S. cannot service this debt. This is the driver. This is why we know without a shadow of a doubt, with certainty, $31.5 trillion in debt. They can't service the debt. If you go to 5% yields, 10% yields, 20%, what are you going to be paying? $3, $5, $10 trillion a year in interest? Right? No, of course not. Right now, the interest on the debt is $500 billion we're paying. What if you double that? What if you go to 8%? Then that's $1 trillion a year in interest on the debt, and then 20. I mean, you can't. It's unsustainable. You're going to be paying more than we even have coming in each year. Right? Our tax receipts are only 4.6 trillion. So you can't be getting to 20% like we did in the 80s with Volcker, because we'd be paying the amount of tax receipts coming in would just be paying interest. And we'd just be accruing debt even faster. And again, there was a report that just came out, New York Times said that we would add $20 trillion in the next 10 years. And so this will be $50 trillion. And that's barring any bailouts, that's barring any catastrophic events, anything. And that's a pipe dream. So like I said, we can lose 99% of the value of the dollar, meaning things can get that much more expensive for you inversely over the next 10 years. And I had a lot of people in the last couple of weeks, in the last month or two, when I said that were like freaking out. Like, what do you mean? I couldn't do that. You couldn't do that. Like, yes, they can. These people are going to print endlessly, and they've told us as much. And the numbers don't lie. These are the numbers. The numbers are telling us they have to print to get out of here. Lynn Alden is unbelievable when it comes to showing you. She just had a report I'm about to read, actually, about 1910s, 1940s, 1970s, and how those inflationary periods, those decades, compare to now. So I'll report back on that. But it's her in the macro, though, she again thinks it's going to be a lot like the 1940s, where governments print their way out of this financial repression. Ben Bernanke told us no too. IMF told us in 2012, and they've hinted at ever since then. They're going to print their way out of it. It's the only way to get debt to GDP down. It's at 120% now. Debt to GDP has to get down below 100, at least 90, or at least 100, but really probably 90 or 80. And the only way they can do that is by printing more currency. It's the only way out, because the dollar is debt. The dollar is debt. I mean, this is unbelievable. $1.5 trillion deficits we're running, and that's just going to climb. And the more that climbs, the more people around the world start leaving the dollar. So there's all these reasons people are leaving the dollar and leaving that monetary network. We're sanctioning people. That's one reason. And then it's also because people are like, hey, like your debt is just growing out of control. Out of control. So we talked about the Triffin dilemma here before, being the world reserve currency. So we have a lot of problems here. And this is why this is important to you. Like, why is this important to you? Like, oh, why do I care, Brandon? This is why. Because every child you have, they are immediately born with owing $100,000 in debt. You, the taxpayer, owe $250,000 in debt. That's why. Because responsible citizens, that's owed by you. And it's not going to be paid like, oh, here's my bill. It's going to be through inflation. It's your $7 carton of eggs now cost $70, now costs $7, right? This is what we've been showing you. Your life on dollars over the last 50 years. Life gets more and more and more. This is just eggs, but substitute car, house, it gets more expensive. Here is your eggs on Bitcoin. You're buying whole farms now. Life gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper when you hold a finite and really deflationary asset. When you hold an inflationary asset, now you have to find more of those dollars to buy the same thing. It's completely inverse. And people can't understand the Bitcoin system because you've never had it. No one alive has experienced and lived in a deflationary system. Well, that's coming. Because the free market will decide. Here's the dollar against Bitcoin. Absolutely destroyed over the last 7 years, 8 years, because of the debt. Continually being printed, increasing the debt, and destroying the average wealth of the person. Retirees, everyone, absolutely destroyed. Holding the stocks and bonds, ETFs, all their portfolios, pensions, 401ks, absolutely destroyed. They're going to be destroyed. Savers are losers because they're saving in dollars, they're saving liabilities that they think are assets. Think about that. Absolute clown world. And we have Bitcoin climbing. It's at almost $25,000 per Bitcoin right now, just skyrocketing. It's up what 30 or 40 some percent on the year. And but again, the media doesn't say that. They'll gladly tell you about what it's in fiat terms when it's down, but when fiat terms when it's up, it's just, and a lot of it's because the dollar is just gyrating. To be quite honest, one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin, and that's the system we will live in eventually. We know inflation is absolutely off the charts right here, as we can see by the 1980 numbers. It's really 15, so really 2.5 times what they're telling us. So when we come back here, this is why bond yields are jumping, because the system is ripping apart. They're telling us, oh, we added 517,000 jobs. Yet you go here, I show you the liquidity emails, I show you all these other articles, and we've done videos on this, and there's just tens of thousands, 100,000 jobs being lost over the course of the last year. And yet they're telling us, well, we all added all these jobs. Yeah, that's the same people like getting a second, third job. And then they fudge the numbers on top of it. So if you can't trust them off of small little inflation numbers, how are you going to trust them to go to war? Weapons of mass destruction, Gulf of Tonkin, JFK. Things you got to get injected in your arm. How are you going to trust them with that? We got to eat bionic meat, and we have to have bionic milk for our babies. How are you going to trust them? How? This is why we have so many problems right now, and this is why we question everything here with boldness. And we get prepared. Get prepared now. This might be a good time. I don't know who needs to hear this, but get some clean water, get some filtration systems, and get some food storage. It's real cheap. I should try to get some affiliate links to share with people so that way we can both benefit from it. But just go to My Patriot Supply. Go there. Go check out the food storage. Go get some. You're not going to be upset. 25-year shelf life. You're not going to be upset. It tastes really good too, by the way. But you're not going to be upset. You're going to actually be happier and more confident because you're preparing for your family. We live in clown world right now, and it's not changing anytime soon. So that's the bonds. It continually is bumping up here, so we're going to continue watching that. Let's see the DXY. The DXY is at 104, and again, this continues bumping up as well. Obviously, with bond yields selling or going up and bonds selling off, people are jumping into the dollar, and that's strengthening again, causing the dollar to be stronger. Making it harder for the export-import game, and making that just a tougher world for Americans to slug that out. That's why that's why these currency wars are trying to devalue their currency all the time, so things are cheaper for people to come buy their assets and buy their goods. So we're going to keep an eye on those two things, like we said, and then the crude oil is the big one. Again, that's kind of staying a little bit stable here at 78, but those are the big three. And then we have the other kind of really liquidity plays, and again, 25,000 almost on Bitcoin here. So we can see Bitcoin kind of snuffing out what's happening here. We see this jump up over the last couple weeks. Like we've been saying here, again, you see this, the kind of the craziness has turned the market a little bit. Well, the global QE, Bitcoin sniffing that out. And then conversely, you have gold and silver down, oddly. And it's really probably just a dollar play. People are leaving the bonds and they're jumping in the dollar and just kind of holding cash. Apparently buying Bitcoin a bit, but they're not. And it could be bigger players too buying Bitcoin, right? Remember, there's all kinds of big players partner with Coinbase, BlackRock, stuff like that. There's huge entities in Bitcoin, and that's just going to continue because people start to understand Bitcoin more. We're still so early, so incredibly early into Bitcoin. Less than 1% of the world population truly owning Bitcoin at a substantial amount and understanding it. This is why I've said the price is the least interesting aspect, but it gives you a gauge of what's happening and adoption rates. But the fundamentals have never been stronger. The hash rate is at like 370 today. It's the highest it's ever been. Lightning Network adoption, layer 2. So the fundamentals have never been stronger, but the price has been down. That means it's a great buying opportunity to transfer your deflationary, your inflationary currency and trade that for a deflationary asset, an asset that goes up in value. Trade your one that goes down in value, your dollars, for your ones that go up in value, Bitcoin. So in saying that, is Bitcoin running? Let's check out, make sure Bitcoin is running as we're speaking of it. And like we said, the hash rate has never been higher. Checked it earlier, and here's the mempool. Here's the blocks being mined and being sorted right now. So the network at work. So that is it, guys. This is we're in insane times, absolutely insane times. I want to see here really quick to show you TimeChain stats. Great website, TimeChain calendar. Go check these out, please, because they are incredible sites. Hash rate, yeah, dropped down to 350. These are averages, though, by the way. And again, these are all-time highs. I think it touched 380 earlier. So that means more and more. It's never been more secure, the network, because people are fighting over what's happening just with the mining supply and trying to get the block reward. More and more people are fighting over the block reward, securing the network. So the more people are fighting for that reward, the more secure it is. And again, the thing I'll say at the end of the day, this is the crazy thing. People will argue all the time and say, Bitcoin can do this and Bitcoin can't do that. Yet they never question the other system. They never question the fiat system because that's all they've grown up with. Oh, so someone will be there to bail me out. Why would you not question the fiat system just like you do Bitcoin? Bitcoin is the hardest system to ever exist with an auditable system. So completely you can audit it. I just showed you. You can't do that at the Fed. And they're going to rug pull. We showed you the FDIC videos saying there's going to be bail-ins. So you're trusting a system that's fiat, that's stealing your wealth, and they're going to bail out, do bailouts and bail in, stealing your wealth even more, just more directly. And yet we just accept it. With Bitcoin, can't do any of that. Literally can't do one of those things. And yet people are like, I don't know. Government's going to take it. Oh, I don't know. Could the network go down? Oh, could an asteroid hit the Earth? Hey, we all have choices to make in life. That's all I'll leave you with. I appreciate your time, your energy. It's the most important asset we have. It's the only finite asset we have besides Bitcoin. Bitcoin is time, and time is Bitcoin. I appreciate you more than you know. I appreciate you coming to my TED Talk as well. And please share this. Please share this video with someone you think might need to understand what's going on, see what's happening here in this world that we're living in, because times are crazy and they're going to get even crazier. Believe me, civil unrest is coming more and more and more. We're already seeing it a ton, obviously, around the world. In America, people hopped up, mental issues, the opioid epidemic, people flooding across the border. This is going to be insane. It's going to be insane. So get prepared. It's a great opportunity, though. For people that are prepared and mentally, spiritually, physically, and emotionally correct up here and all in here, guess what? Times are going to be good for us and the community we're building here. Bitcoin, food, Bitcoin, gold, silver, food, energy, water, land, and get community right. The community we're building here, the people that are going to, in your community as well, meet your rancher, meet the people around you, and then the community you're building online around the world, you're going to thank yourself for building the well before you're thirsty. I appreciate you. I'll see you on the next one.